Hello, I'm Daniela Saioni, a 30-year veteran script supervisor. I also train script supervisors internationally, and recently some of my students called me an OG, which I learned means original gangsta. Today, I want to give a quick overview of what script supervisors do in prep because there is a disturbing little trend popping up in the non-union world where budgeted prep time for script supervisors in some places seems to be eroding. The general rule and the actual union contract in LA Local 871 for minimum prep time on union feature films is 10 days of prep plus the initial timing breakdown. But prep can and does go up to 4 weeks or more depending on the needs of the specific movie. For example, I've been paid for longer prep times on shows with extended rehearsal days or script workshopping sessions or multi-day tech surveys or attending a substantial number of technical meetings on some of the 9-figure features I've been on. On one historical drama, I was paid a full extra week of prep just to do the research on the actual specific dates and times every scene in the movie allegedly took place in. Back when I started as a script supervisor in Toronto, Canada in the early 1990s, the lowest budget non-union shows paid me for 5 days of prep, and in many cases, that was not enough time. When you're working with a first-time director, as will happen more often than not in the non-union world, they tend to use and need us a lot more in prep, not less, assuming they know how to use us in the first place. So, how is it possible that certain new production managers seem to think it's a good idea for script supervisors to prep a movie in 3 days or less? What? Yes, I'm hearing this from my students in certain parts of the world on non-union shows. What I say to them is, I know that this can feel like production doesn't value what we do, but I don't want you to jump to that conclusion right off the bat. I want you to stop and realize that many new production managers actually have no idea what we do and don't see the correlation between our prep time and how that saves them money on set. Because part of the training in my program includes negotiating your deal, I had a student ask a PM very nicely how it is even possible to prep a movie in 1 day. And the PM asked him what it is that he does besides a script timing. Oh my God. Once he explained, the error was corrected and he got more prep time. This production manager simply had no clue. We are one of the least understood departments on set, so consider this a public service announcement for those who need to hear it. Producers and production managers, you have got to know this, but I will state the obvious anyway. Prep is the single least expensive part of the production process. Once cameras start rolling, every minute is exponentially more expensive, and post is no cheap Megillah either. That means that every single issue we can foresee and solve in prep saves thousands of dollars in potential future spending and time wasting later on. Your script supervisor is one of your key problem solvers and troubleshooters on the crew. Every team member works from their own perspective, and we have a very important perspective that has the director's back with our knowledge of story logic, coverage, and technical editing issues, visual continuity, and screen time. Sure, great you say, but how are any of these things tied to budget? Let me give you some examples off the top of my head. Okay, not every script supervisor is invited to the tech survey, but I always have it written into my deal memo that I go to the final tech survey, or the recce as they say in the UK, because I can't even count the monetary value of all the troubleshooting that got made at tech surveys I have attended over the years. We were once scouting a scene where a body gets dragged out of the lake. The divers said, "This takes an incredibly long time to rig and execute, and it needs to be very specific." The cost of the setup was about 30 grand. So they said, "We need to know which way the body gets pulled onto the shore for your hero shot," which was tied to which arm pops out of the bag and reveals the ring on the actress's hand, which was a key story point. The director said, "Right arm." Now, I had been deep into my script breakdown at that point, and I ran up to him and whispered, "It needs to be the left hand because," and I went through the continuity story logic reasons why it needed to be that way and to track through every other scene on her left hand as well. He agreed and yelled out, "Left arm," it's the left arm. Another time, I had a script assistant make a save worth about $20,000 from a potential complicated VFX paintout on a fully Steadicam scene. It was about the address on the hero house being the incorrect number in a sequence where the house number was cleared and already pre-recorded in a song. And apart from the recce's, there are often so many important questions about screen time and how many pages can be cut, which is even more directly tied to the overall budget and schedule. And when you're working on, let's say, stunt-heavy movies or musicals, for example, the script supervisor needs to watch rehearsals or at least talk to the stunt coordinator or choreographer about the estimated lengths of the choreography in each sequence in order to be able to give the producer an accurate answer that they can bank on. If you're working on a multi-unit VFX show, your script supervisor also needs to clearly understand which unit is shooting what element and how all the elements will eventually fit together in the final cut, so they can back up the director and VFX team and the ADs and ask the questions in prep about, say, an element that might not have been scheduled, for example. Oh, it happens. Now, directors and ADs may be aware of the kind of troubleshooting I'm talking about, but these kinds of conversations may have gone unnoticed by you, the PMs, and even producers, if you were not directly involved in those prep discussions by the time they got solved. And if you have not yet experienced these kinds of saves as a new producer or PM, I'm going to guess that it's only because you did not spend the hundreds of dollars to involve your script supervisor in prep and then wondered why avoidable snafus happened on set. Most of the biggest financial saves that I have made or have seen made in prep involve the simple act of communication. Having an awareness of how sequences are going to be shot or things that we are doing that are not explicitly in the script, or even just having the core team, which yes, very much includes your script supervisor, understanding the movie inside the director's head saves so much time and discussion on set. But it's impossible to know or hear this information if your script supervisor is not physically present during prep, and we are purely relying on the information in the script without other details or context. I mean, think about it. How often is everything pertinent reflected exactly in the script on the page? Never. So, what do script supervisors do in prep besides reading the script and every revision as many times as possible? We do an all-important detailed script breakdown and timing, of course, which includes a story day breakdown and time of day breakdown and several other elements that we need to track for continuity. This is usually the very first thing we're asked to do because it affects most every other department and leads us to be able to have an intimate understanding of the script and allows us to ask and answer all the questions that will follow. I go deep into how to execute the timing breakdown in my Director Whisperer training program, of course, with examples from my own work. We also send the director and first AD and the writer, if they're on board, an initial list of logic and continuity questions so that any issues or inconsistencies can be addressed in rewrites early on in the process. We attend various meetings, such as an initial meeting with the editor and her team, as well as a post-workflow meeting, any VFX meetings where concepts and storyboards are being discussed. I personally like to attend the director's concept meeting so I fully understand the movie in her head. And of course, we are a department head, so we always attend the final production meeting. You also may be asked by the director to attend rehearsals, or in comedy, we're sometimes asked to attend script workshopping sessions, and you may need to observe stunt or dance rehearsals if applicable. I go through how we are used in rehearsals in my program, of course. We also adjust and reissue revised script breakdowns for every script revision that comes out. After all, in order to be effective in our role, we have to know that script better than anyone else on set, except maybe the writer. And of course, we attend the final script read-through with the cast. It's often the place we first meet the main cast, who we will have to work closely with on set, so it helps get them comfortable with us, and of course, that is 10 times as effective if we are involved in rehearsals as well. I get into working with different acting styles in my program so you can have a good shot at navigating that creative dance. Doing all this in prep sets everyone up for success on the shooting floor and maximizes the potential to save money by catching and correcting most of the issues long before they happen. And anyone who has made movies knows shit is always happening, so why not be proactive and tackle as many of the issues that you can in prep? So, How can all this get done by the script supervisor in 1 day or even in 3 days? It can't. And you can bet that by not scheduling enough prep time on your non-union shows, you are forcing your script supervisor to work for free as other departments are being paid to prep. And that is simply not cool. Look, I know it can feel easier to do that to us because we are generally a department of one, but that does not make it right. So it's also up to each of us as script supervisors to negotiate for what we need and turn down situations that do not serve us. But I believe that it's not malicious, that it's largely a problem of misunderstanding our work that is responsible for this regional phenomenon of prep time erosion. So as with everything else about prep, we have to have the open conversation to avoid future pain for all concerned. There are differences in prepping series television, of course, and I'll go through them quickly because the vast majority of television is union work and producers and PMs know the drill. How much prep time you get and which meetings you attend depend on factors like whether you are working on every single episode or checkerboarding with another script supervisor or sharing the work with an additional script supervisor or whether you have a full-time script assistant or not. So if you are working every single episode on your own as a script supervisor, you are probably only doing a week or two of prep before the series goes to camera, and then doing script breakdowns on weekends at the prevailing weekend rate, and attending cast script read-throughs over lunch, all of which you get paid for. When you are checkerboarding or when you are working as a team, you will also be able to attend the production meetings for that episode, and unless a script revision comes out on a weekend and they need your breakdown urgently, you are probably prepping at straight time during the week. Okay, I hope this has helped both production managers and script supervisors get a handle on prep. I do say a lot more about how to execute all this in my Director Whisperer training program for script supervisors, which is designed for brand new script supervisors all the way up to people at the tenure stage of their career. Right now, I'm accepting students at the beta price until 11:59 p.m. on January 1st, 2022. That's California time. And the next opportunity to train with me will be at the regular price this coming May. If you're interested, I will post the link in the description below. I've also got a short course coming up for directors on how to work with your script supervisor in prep and on set, which will also be useful to producers as well. Depending on when you're watching this video, there will either be a pre-registration link to that or a link to the mini course itself in the description below. If you find script supervision content in general useful, please like this video and subscribe to my channel and check out some of the other videos. Have a great day and rock your prep.